Welcome to the weekly roundup, where we're just going to be talking over the stuff that's been happening in the combat world at the moment. A lot of stuff been going on. Is Ryan Garcia guilty? Is he innocent? We got the Inoue and Canelo fight to talk about as well, which, both very exciting fights. Boxing's kind of on the up right now. I'm going to just start by giving my thoughts on the Canelo fight and what I think he should do next. He defeated Jamie Magua by decision. Was actually a good fight, to be fair. Magua in the first few rounds took the first 2 or 3 rounds until Canelo started warming into the fight. And Canelo is just such an elite level boxer. He makes you punish for every mistake you make when in the pocket. If you overswing, he catches you with perfect counters on every exchange, and he really did start landing on Magua when he did start opening up in the later rounds. You saw he sort of took the blueprint from Dimitri Bivol and maybe how to beat Canelo, where you stay long. Magua is 6 foot, so he was trying to stay long, keep him on the end of his punches. And Canelo had all the answers for it in the end, dropping him with a perfect uppercut. That is as good as a punch as you can get. Picture perfect uppercut, drops him bad, and then kind of, I don't want to say carried him to a decision, but maybe Canelo's just not got that sort of pop in his punches that he used to. He's getting a bit older now, been through a lot of fights in his career, and he's just not necessarily finishing guys like he was a few years ago. But overall, really good fight. Magua still only 27 years old, and I think he was 46-0 before this fight, so only his first loss at that age is crazy. And Canelo probably should fight Benavidez next. That is the best matchup probably in boxing right now. The Mexican monster, and you know why he's called that. He just walks forward, and that will bring the best fight out of Canelo. So I think that's what they should do next. Canelo obviously saying he wants 200 million to fight him, but has sort of seeming like he's opening up to the idea of it after the fight. I saw a couple interviews where he wasn't completely dismissing it, and that's the fight they need to get on for boxing. If not, who can Canelo fight? We don't want to see him fight these people like Charlo, who are just kind of there to say they fought Canelo. They're not even really necessarily trying to win. So Canelo got to take that big fight next. And then giving my thoughts on the Inoue fight as well. The first time Inoue's ever looked human, really. Luis Nery knocked him down in the first round, and I thought maybe he could be in trouble. I think he was fighting in Asia as well, so it was on during the time I was at work the other day, so I didn't even know it was happening, to be honest. And when I got home and watched it, was quite a bad knockdown in the first round. Did well. He stayed down for the 8 count, composed himself, and got up, and then just started working like a machine. He's so good at boxing. It's like watching like a robot in action. It's just everything he does seems to be perfect, and he just started quadrupling that right hand, and really started to put damage on Luis Nery, and does get a beautiful knockout in I think it's the 6th round off the top of my head. Hits him with a right hand, and sort of just a short right hook completely knocks him out. A beautiful knockout. And Inoue is probably, right up there for me, the best fighter to watch at the moment. He's just so nasty with everything. I'd probably put him number 1 or 2 pound for pound, him and Terence Crawford. I think Usyk, that's probably my top 3 is Usyk, Crawford and Inoue. And, boxing's on a come up at the moment. Really good, a lot of good fighters coming out of boxing. And Inoue is at the front running trainer that just knocking guys out, and he has the chance to end the year as a 2-weight division WBC champion. So really just does show the skill level he's on. It's like he only sort of made himself known to the American fans this year or last year, and he's coming in and just steamrolling everyone. So yeah, Inoue, really impressive performance. And he might be a bit too small to go up and fight like the Rolly Romeros and the Isaac Cruz. I think height-wise, him and Isaac Cruz is a good matchup, but Cruz is a fit guy, hits real hard, so it's going to be interesting to see if he really does try to push the bow out and get those real hard matchups like Tank and stuff. I just don't see it happening yet. Maybe he knocks out a few more guys, then he will get pushed into that, especially with this Saudi money coming around at the moment. So yeah. Now, getting into the sort of main topic of today's video, is Ryan Garcia guilty or innocent? I didn't do a video when he first tested just because I wanted to wait until a few more things came out. sort of any news on how much was in his system, how many times he tested positive before the fight and after the fight. And yeah, I've got it here. So I'm gonna get into what he actually tested for first. Obviously, the first one, Austrian, sorry. It's a steroid that quite a lot of people test for. It can be found a lot in sort of dietary supplements. I know Conor McGregor well pointed out that Sean O'Malley tested for it back in the day, and he was cleared by USADA that it was just something that he was taking for dietary supplements. I think maybe Brian Ortega tested for it a long time ago as well. It might have been something else, but off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it was. And this is a drug that traces can be found in stuff that you would never think it is in. A lot of supplements fighters would take has been made in the same facilities as Austrian, and a small amount can be detected because it's a steroid that people do use it if it can be done in large amounts, but it's so easy to detect that not many fighters will ever use it to get an advantage. It doesn't give you a major advantage anyway. The one I'm going to talk about in a minute is the one that gives you the main advantage. But overall, he tested such little amounts that you don't know if he can even physically ingest that without like knowing it's just a tiny amount in something you don't know. Here ESPN say star boxer Ryan Garcia tested for the performance enhancing substance Austrian the day before the fight upset win over Devin Haney. The urine samples were collected prior to the fight, but the results weren't known until later, which is just a bit weird. I know the results can take up to 10 days to come back. But yeah, so Garcia has 10 days to request a B sample to be tested. Garcia's A sample also screened positive for naradatostrone, which I think there's another name for it. The short name, it's a weird one off the top of my head. I think it's nanodrolone or something like that, which this is one that is very much a thing that people will take to get an advantage in fighting. It's an anabolic steroid, so it's basically a supplement for TRT. Really just helps get that fucking inner man inside you just unleashed. And yeah, but again, this was such a little amount, pretty much impossible to take that much on purpose. And there was dates, I think a week before the fight he tested clean and then tested negative a couple of days before the fight. So you're not going to run a cycle of this steroid 1 week before the fight. So these two substances found inside of him, it's the whole John Jones thing when it's a picogram, a grain of sand in a big swimming pool and all that bollocks. It's still just such a horrible sort of stain because we're going to find out really soon if the New York State Athletic Commission do see him as guilty. Personally, I think he's just being a bit of a twat, to be honest. Just, the way he behaves outside, I wouldn't be surprised if he isn't one of these fighters that is going through and thoroughly checking every substance he's taking, everything that, they take all these B vitamins and the E12 and all this bollocks in to help them with their immune systems and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that can be just tainted with something you will test positive for. So it's a real sticky one, and it is giving Devin Haney something to sort of, it's a good look for him now because he lost to a drug cheat, and comes out in an interview and says he doesn't ever really see himself doing that fight again, running it back, which, if someone beats my ass that bad, and even all the doctors are coming out and saying there's just not a amount in your system to actually help you with the fight. Yeah, it's not one Devin Haney's really looking to get back, and I can't blame him, to be honest. It was a bad beat, and the steroid thing coming out does make it look a bit worse. But my personal opinion, like I said, they take it for a lot of dietary supplements. It can be found in a lot of dietary supplements, and we know he missed weight. He probably was taking something to maybe help him lose weight if he was struggling with the weight cut, something just to get the sweat on, shed a bit quicker, maybe get your heart racing a bit more. And I think that was probably tainted with these two supplements, well, not supplements, these two things that were found inside of him. And I think that's how it's gone. There is a few other things I want to touch on. I'm going to talk a little bit on UFC. The main thing I've been laughing at recently, Anthony Smith, Alex Pereira really going at it at the moment. Sort of a few weird posts on Anthony Smith's Instagram, and Alex Pereira been sort of filming him and walking into the cage and all of this other stuff. So it's all getting a bit weird between them. But overall, we should just see them grapple each other, right? I think that's the most logical thing. They're not going to get into a fight because Anthony Smith is not going to win enough credible matchups now in his career to get up there and be fighting Alex Pereira for the title, or if Ankalaev beats him just as a contender. I don't see Anthony Smith actually winning that many fights now. Although he did have a big win at the weekend, where Alex Pereira just seems to be on this warpath where it's not going to surprise me if he goes up to heavyweight soon. But Alex Pereira saying, putting the money on the line, 50k, you got 5 minutes to choke me out with Anthony Smith on his back. And I think, let's do it at the UFC PI. That's an interesting thing to see. And I think Anthony Smith, I would probably bet on him choking Alex Pereira out if that happened. Alex Pereira very confident in his ability that it wouldn't happen, and I would be too if I was that guy. He's just everything he touches just seems to turn to gold. So yeah, them two jabbing at each other is one of the weirdest sort of rivalries we've seen in the UFC. It's one of maybe the only rivalries in recent times where they're just so far apart that they're never going to fight. It's like Tapura and Paddy Pimblett all over again. It's got those sort of vibes on it. And I don't see that ever happening, but it's fun to see them jab at each other. And the other thing I want to talk about, last thing today, Umar Nurmagomedov and Corey Sandhagen just announced, and that sort of leaves the division in a bit of a standstill. Umar not beat any top ranked opponents. I don't think any ranked opponents. His biggest win is Bezcat. In my opinion, his best win is Bezcat, not his biggest win, or Ronnie Barcelos, but Barcelos is like 56 years old these days, so is that a really good win? I'm not too sure. But yeah, Jose Aldo obviously just coming back. I think he really did deserve a push against maybe a Corey Sandhagen. Hopefully he gets even like a Cheeto. He's just beat Cheeto, so Cheeto, I think ranked number 6 or 5 isn't the best one. I think Song Yadong, Jose Aldo, I think that would be a perfect matchup if Jose Aldo is going to stay around. But I wanted Jose Aldo to get this Corey Sandhagen matchup. I know a few other YouTubers have been sort of pushing for that as well, but obviously we can't decide what happens. So yeah, it's just really annoying at the end of the day that Jose Aldo, is he going to even get a massive fight? Because I don't see him coming back if he's just going to fight like a number 9 ranked guy or something like that. Now he's already beat 3 of the top 15, beat Pedro Munez, beat Chito Vera. Maybe the Dominic Cruz fight still makes sense, and you can try and push Jose Aldo into a title shot. But yeah, it's just it's a struggle with Jose Aldo because you don't know what he wants to do. You don't know if he wants to go box. You don't know if he's going to stick around and try and go for one more title run like it seems. And I think that's what we all want to see, to be honest, is Jose Aldo standing around and maybe fighting for another title. Dustin Poirier, Islam Makhachev kind of going at it a little bit. Dustin Poirier feels disrespected. I don't think he thinks Islam's looking at him as a big threat. I'm not really too surprised. I think Islam thinks he's going to run through him. And that fight is interesting. That's coming up not too far away. I think that's the next big UFC card. So gonna probably see Dustin Poirier's last title shot. And that's one you just gotta hope for. Like, if that knockout happens, it's just gonna be one of those ones that he catches him, and it's one of those ones where you're just stood up at the end of the night. It's 6 a.m. and you're just shell shocked at the telly. So it'd be exciting to have that sort of prospect that could happen that night, but it's unlikely. Mauricio Ruffy reacts to Conor McGregor comparisons after spectacular UFC 301 debut. Yeah, he did look really good. Obviously, finishing Jamie Malarkey. It's not a very hard thing to do necessarily these days, but he looked really good. Southpaw sort of nasty straight left. He came out with all these. He got that jumping scissor sweep just before he got the finish. That's the shit people want to see in the UFC. So yeah, really exciting debut from him. He's going to probably just go far and further in that division. So yeah, really exciting one from him. That's all we're going to talk about today. Quite a bit of news to talk about, not loads in depth that we can talk about. Obviously tomorrow's video is going to be, it will be tomorrow or Friday, breaking down the UFC card this weekend. We got a decent one coming up, so yeah,